Hello there, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to the Hyperspace Database. I'm your humble host, Jonesy the Mandalorian, here with today's topic, the Raider Class Corvette. The Raider Corvette was an advanced, medium-sized ship that was developed around 6 years before the Battle of Yavin by Kuat Drive Yards, the same company that made the incredibly successful Star Destroyer line for the Empire. The Raider was 492 feet long, 207 feet wide, and 102 feet high. You can see a general size comparison between the Corvus as well as TIE fighters and individual stormtroopers as pictured here. Its engine speed was unknown, but it did have a single large ion engine with two smaller ion engines. It had a Class 2 hyperdrive with a backup Class 15. It normally crewed around 92 beings, with 32 troops as well. It was armed with 6 dual heavy laser cannons, numerous light turbo lasers, ion cannons, and concussion missile launchers. It also possessed a small hangar that could hold up to 2 fighters. The Raider Corvette was designed by the Imperial ship designer Lyra Wessex, who was the daughter of legendary ship designer Wilex Blissix, and who was responsible for developing the popular Venator class and Imperial class destroyers in Legends. The ship was designed as a combination of styles, with the angular shape of a Star Destroyer being combined with the wing shape of a TIE Interceptor, and its solar collector wing technology reflected the same tech used in the TIE Fighter line of ships. The Raider was developed primarily to answer the conundrum of enemy starfighter attacks, which were picking apart the larger Star Destroyer ships. The small starfighters were extremely hard to hit with large turbo laser cannons, and caused significant damage to the larger ships before reinforcement fighters were deployed. The Raider was often compared to the Rebel Alliance CR-90 blockade runner, which was a diplomatic ship initially, that is until it was upgraded to be a weapon of war. The Raider served as an anti-fighter corvette primarily, but also functioned as a patrol craft and scouting ship when needed, as it was capable of housing a few scout craft in its small hangar, which it could deploy for short runs and exploration missions. The ship was often deployed to the Outer Rim for these missions, and served as a small arm of the Empire in these lawless regions of space. There were 2 versions of the ship, much like the Imperial class Star Destroyers, the Raider 1 class and the Raider 2 class, with the Raider 2 having heavier shields, weaponry, and was just generally beefier overall than the Raider 1. The main bridge of the ship resembled the bridge area on many other Imperial vessels, with a central holotable used for strategy meetings and other mission briefings, as well as crew wells that reflected the sunken crew pits on Star Destroyers. The Raider Corvette was very useful in repelling Rebel ships and disrupting their hit and fade tactics, and with its small hangar it could bring fighters with it to assist in battles. The Raider Corvette was influential in the testing of another superior Imperial ship, the experimental TIE Advanced X-1 fighter, which was tested on the Outer Rim to avoid prying eyes. While the X-1 would prove too costly to produce en masse, it was discovered that the hyperdrive unit on the X-1 worked very well with the hyperdrive-capable Raider, as the ships could meet up after a successful mission, or at some other pre-arranged rendezvous point should the mission go awry. The Raider Corvette is quite the popular ship, as it makes appearances in several different Star Wars projects. It was first introduced in the X-Wing Miniatures tabletop game, when the developers needed an answer to the Rebel Alliance Corvette. The team did not find a ship that would quite fit their needs, so they worked with Lucasfilm to develop a new Imperial ship, and the Raider Corvette was born. Several designs were submitted for approval, and some of these are very reminiscent of other Imperial ships, like the Gladiator Star Destroyer and even the Scimitar, or Sith Infiltrator as we see in the Phantom Menace. The most noticeable appearances of the Raider Corvette are in the realm of video games, as it is an influential part of the Battlefront 2 and Squadrons video games. In Star Wars Squadrons, the Raider Corvette is one of several large Imperial ships in the Fleet Battle mode, where players team up to take out the opposing faction in a 5-on-5 duel for survival. The Raider Corvette appears alongside an Imperial Star Destroyer and several Arquitens-class command cruisers, as well as the craft that players fly and several other fighter squadrons. In the Battlefront 2 video game, the Raider Corvette plays a much bigger role. The elite Imperial Commando Squad known as Inferno Squad is given a retrofitted Raider Corvette called the Corvus, which was modified with state-of-the-art computer systems for infiltration missions as well as for large-scale assault missions. Here's a spoiler warning for you. If you haven't played the game or its DLC Resurrections, be sure to stop this video, go play it, and come back. Don't want to spoil anything for you. The Corvus is first seen when Commander Iden Versio escapes from the MC-80 cruiser Invincible Faith, after recovering important Imperial data from the Rebels concerning the ambush at Endor in Return of the Jedi. Commander Versio then launches herself out of an airlock into the void of space, which appears to be a suicidal move. But right then, the Corvus reemerges from hyperspace and is able to fly perfectly in the flight path of the escaping Imperial Commando, allowing Iden to somewhat safely crash into the small hangar of the ship before it takes off back into the safety of hyperspace. Though not a moment too soon, as the MC-80 launches an ion barrage to disable the fleeing ship. As the Corvus travels through hyperspace to its next objective, the team are then given orders to back up the Imperial forces on the forest moon of Endor, where the team witnesses the destruction of the second Death Star from the forest moon. After rendezvousing with the Imperial Star Destroyer Eviscerator over Coruscant, the crew are issued their new orders, and the Corvus embarks on missions to see Operation Cinder to completion. The Corvus picks up experimental satellites from the Fondor shipyards and repels a rebel attack, and delivers those satellites to the planet Vardos. Much to the surprise and anger of Iden Versio, the satellites are used on the Imperial citizens of Vardos, all in the name of spreading fear to maintain order. The Corvus then lands on the planet to retrieve a high-value diplomatic target, and after Inferno Squad comes to blows with each other regarding controversial orders, Iden and her fellow commando Del Miko defect from the Empire and escape on the Corvus. This leads the commandos to make a hard choice: flee to live their lives on the run, or make a difference with the side they realize they should have been on the whole time. Iden and Del surrender the Corvus to the Rebel Alliance and join its cause, and after proving themselves in battle, are able to join the rebellion as full members. It was after this point that the Corvus was again retrofitted to serve the needs of the New Republic, and underwent a large overhaul, adding more engine units, as well as removing the Solar Collection wings in favor of more armored units, not to mention a new paint job to reflect the colors of the New Republic. It was after this point that the Corvus was used to hunt down the remnants of the Imperial fleet, and Iden had a personal score to settle with her Admiral father, who had given her position to the crew member that turned on her, Gideon Hask. After several missions tracking down leads as to her father's whereabouts, Iden is finally able to confront him over the skies of Jakku, where the Corvus aids the rebel fleet in battling the gathered forces of the Imperial remnants in one final battle. The Corvus fights off many Imperial forces, including squadrons of TIE fighters and TIE bombers, before retreating from the front lines to regroup. Iden is able to crash land on the Star Destroyer and confront her father, who chooses to go down with the ship instead of being rescued, as his time with the Empire was his entire life. After the battle is over, the New Republic emerges victorious, and the Corvus retires its military colors in favor of a civilian life ferrying cargo, with Del and Iden as her captains, and with a little addition to come their way in the form of their daughter, Zay. Many years after this point, the Corvus is used by Iden and Zay to track down the politician Inferno Squad saved. Yes, the same one that led to the breakup of the squad so many years earlier. This politician was the only lead for them to track down a missing Del Miko. The Corvus arrives on Vardos and orbits above the ruin that was the once great Imperial city, now under the control of the Janata security forces. Iden and her rebel friend Shriv descend to the planet, where they are ambushed by Agent Hask, who proceeds to exact his revenge by telling Iden of Del's death, as well as by having the Resurgent-class Star Destroyer Retribution fire on the Corvus, causing it to crash to the planet, where it exploded in a fiery blaze of glory. This was the last that the Corvus would fly among the stars, but as it turns out, Zay was able to escape the ship before its destruction, so Hope would survive to fight another day. The Raider Class Corvette filled a very important void in the Imperial Navy, and was a great rival to the Rebel Alliance corvettes, and with its ability to take on starfighters and larger ships, as well as undertake infiltration missions and escort duties, it was a solid choice for the Imperial Commando Team Inferno Squad, and a fantastic addition to the Imperial fleet. Want to know about great Star Wars topics just like the one you just watched? Be sure to stick around to the end for some secret trivia, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and the bell to never miss an episode that I publish. Be sure to chat with me in the comments too, because I really like hearing from you guys. Super special shout out to my Gold Captain level Patreon supporters Nick Sutphin, Miss 2003, and Matthew Scott. Your support is extremely appreciated and you keep the show running. Thank you so much. Be sure to check out my other videos for great Star Wars content, and you can check out this recommended video that's up here as well. Be sure to follow the show on social media for more news and channel updates. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.